Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. My name is Greg Phelps, and joining me once again is dementia care expert Teepa Snow. And Teepa, I think I've said this before, but the internet can be a real rabbit hole when it comes to finding out information about dementia. A couple of the latest holes I jumped into relate to something called NASA's memory song, and another one called the 12-minute song, different sounds. And then there's also nasal spray. Where am I going with all this? Well, if I get sucked into reading all these studies and reports, what chance does the average person have in trying to find factual and helpful information? Mom's been diagnosed with dementia. Now, where do I go?
You probably should try to cure it right off. So that, I'm being facetious for everyone out there. Please do not think that actual, I have no thought of curing dementia. That's not my bailiwick. That's not my bag. I think you're right, Greg. I mean, there's new stuff coming out daily. I used to say weekly. Now I say daily, where somebody's got some magic, somebody's got some cure, somebody's got something new, somebody's got, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, there should be this. But what I still see a lack of is, how should I approach this situation for the best possible outcome? I mean, I don't see a lot of thoughtful stuff. I see a lot of magical thinking stuff.
Well, I want the NASA's memory song because that's only apparently seconds a day that I have to listen to it, and then I'm cured. And not to blame NASA, because I'm pretty sure that somebody has hijacked those initials and is, trying to manipulate it. But so where does one go for basic information? We don't want to phone Teepa right away. We don't want to, use one of your experts right away. So can I read something and just sort of get a little handle on it?
There are. I mean, we have blogs, we have these podcasts, which apparently you found, but I would also say there are just simple little articles that are out there. Now, you do have to be thoughtful about where you're going for it. You can look on the Alzheimer's Association site if what you're looking for is Alzheimer's, but you have to sort of link into that. Or maybe you want to look on the Lewy body site, or maybe the frontal temporal condition site. I mean, it gets tricky, and depending on what country or area you're from, you may find it, you have different ones that you have to look up. And in my experience, sometimes what happens is you get sucked into, do you want to contribute? Do you want to make a donation? And it's like, well, not at first, as you said, you just want to sort of explore. So, it's one of those kind of situations where maybe what you want to do is ask a question and see what happens. And so we do half-hour complimentary consults where you can ask a question. We say, okay, here's a couple of things you might want to take a look at, listen to, because our first initial is just to see, is there something we can do to support you, to help you with where you are right now, or are you where you think you are right now? Because sometimes we are aware that where you think you are in this journey, actually it's like, I'm not even sure what you're talking about is dementia. Let's pause for a second and let's go back, and I'm going to give you something to take a look at or watch or listen or read. Because I'll ask you, what's your preferred way of getting information? Because it turns out that matters too.
It sounds to me, Teepa, like if people are at the wondering stage, they already sort of know where they are. So maybe instead of spending more time in the wondering stage, maybe they should talk to somebody right off the bat and find out if they're even going in the right direction. Because as I said, you can go down these wormholes and you can never, ever get out.
Well, not only that, you can argue with other people that are in the mix with you and believe you're standing on firm ground. But when you look down, your feet are in quicksand because actually, there isn't data behind that claim that was made. There is nothing there. There isn't logic. There isn't even reason. There's just this desire to hook somebody in and get them to keep watching and keep. And so these ads that you don't know there are ads first. I mean, they're really tricky. And then suddenly you realize, I've been watching this for 15 minutes and I still haven't heard anything about the answer that they promised me at the start. And it's like, been around long enough that I know that's tricky. But for people who may not and are desperately seeking something, it can sound really good. And then you get so far in, and then you're going down these others, as you said. I think it's really important to talk to someone or to at least have a conversation on the keyboard, if nothing else, to really get curious about what you think, what you believe, where you are, and see if you're on target or maybe you might be off a bit. And, we're not the only game in town, but we are one of the areas where we focus on function. We focus on where is somebody in relationship to brain change and what could we possibly do that would support you where you are?
We don't want to bury you with freebies. So is there a charge, or can I get, how long is the session? Can I talk to somebody for 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Because I can't spend the rest of the day on the phone with Teepa. That's just not going to
Absolutely
work.
not. Yeah, no. So you can have up to a half hour of back and forth. And one of the things we'll do is tell us a little bit about the situation you find yourself in, because sometimes simply by exploring where you are and what's going on around you, we might be able to go, so what I'm hearing is this. I'm going to give you two options to go look at. And if one of those seems helpful, maybe there's a path forward there. And if neither seems helpful, come back and tell me that because, I was thinking one of these might be from what we talked about. And perhaps that will start you in a direction that you do want to travel. Some of it could be self-guided. Some of it may need guidance from somewhere else or somewhere else. And we're not opposed to referring you on if that's what it seems like you're really needing. But what we don't want folks is to stumble around and keep digging holes all over the field and not knowing what you're even looking for.
Teepa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast, brought to you by Positive Approach to Care. For more information, go to teepasnow.com.